She has a reputation.
Boys will be boys.
Women need to be responsible for their own safety.
Stick to the main road. Don't walk where it's dark.
Make sure you get home safe.
What did she expect with what she was wearing?
Make sure you're carrying your phone.
Text me when you get home.
You should always tell your friends where you're going.
She was doing it for attention.
Don't take any shortcuts.
And don't walk alone at night.
She was asking for it.
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 I just know too many people who are victims of sexual assault, and I don't know a single person who's reported it.
Activists representing a variety of feminist groups marched along Swanston Street. They are aiming to change the community's focus away from what victims were doing or wearing in cases of sexual assault.
Well, originally Slutwalk started in 2011 in Canada.
Slutwalk began because of a comment that an officer in Toronto made.
Slutwalk, to my understanding, started a number of years ago in response to, how do I put it?
My mum told me about the Slutwalk, and she explained to me why it had come about, which was that a police officer had told those students.
I know I'm encouraged not to say stuff like this, but if women don't want to be victimized, or if women want to avoid being victimized, why don't they just stop dressing like sluts?
And it told them that they shouldn't, quote, dress like sluts.
So they should avoid dressing like sluts in order not to be persecuted.
And I mean, of course, people say stuff like that all the time, but for some reason this hit this like collective nerve, and the first Slutwalk was later that year.
Slutwalk's message is to say that nobody is entitled to sexual contact with anybody.
Slutwalk is something that seems obvious but is still necessary, unfortunately, and it's an anti-rape culture rally, but it's all sort of this unifying message against slut shaming and sort of demanding an end to slut shaming and victim blaming in a culture that is going to ask what a girl was wearing before they ask anything about a rapist who's on trial.
Well, there's good international and local research which sadly keeps coming up with the same results. There's too much victim blaming. Unfortunately, the media is still inclined to ask what did she do to provoke him, or why did this happen, as though there's something wrong with her. Excusing the perpetrator. He was drunk, he was mentally ill, he was under stress, he just snapped. Typical sorts of lines that we hear.
It's especially important for people who've survived it to know that it's not your own fault and to put that responsibility back where it belongs.
And we're tired of victims being blamed. You know, we're tired of teaching girls how to not get raped instead of teaching boys not to rape.
I think that people come just wanting to be around people that they know will love and support them.
I always say that for me it's like a holiday. For me it's like a big parade. The vibrant women and men can come to the Slutwalk and just be happy.
And so it's kind of a mixture of like a party and a protest march in a way.
Society as a whole, I think, has to continue to realise that this is actually our biggest crime story, one of our biggest economic stories, our biggest health story, our biggest human rights story is violence against women.
I really do feel this like collective energy building, you know, that people are just fed up and, you know, hopefully some changes are going to happen.
We can't necessarily always, conquer the world, but we can do something. And something is always better than nothing.
I would really encourage going to a slut walk. It just reminds you of all the things you've thought before that perhaps you weren't being treated fairly or you didn't deserve to be called that name, and it will just give you that sense of community around that a lot of people feel this way, and that's okay. You can just be yourself and still be celebrated.
I always feel pretty motivated afterwards. But also like there's a lot of work to do still. It is sort of that one day and you get to take up all the space. You can like walk with pride, and it's just like, it is super powerful. Yeah, I think that's the word. I would just keep it simple and say powerful.